Hi everyone, good evening. So today we are talking about our leadership series. We are continuing. Every week I've been talking about various aspects of leadership and what is needed to be successful in this creative economy. We are entering a new era where it's not just about top-down management. Because no one person has all the knowledge. We need to depend on a whole lot of people to make something happen. So in this, what are all the different aspects that are available? I've also been talking a lot about, as we move from an industrial economy to a creative economy, we have to have a more patriarchal and matriarchal ways of management. And we need to invent new types of management. So today, what I wanted to talk about is participatory management. I have grown up in a world where there is a CEO, there is VPs, and then there is directors, then there is managers, and then there is people who work for them. And every decision is tops down. It has, there is a management meeting, they have decided, and, the word comes down and then you do it. In the technology industry, even 30 years ago, etc., there was always an exception to this because it was an open door policy. Anyone could go talk to the CEO. It wasn't like a system where all the power sat in one floor. Nobody was allowed to go to that floor. It wasn't like that. So there was a free exchange of information. Still, the expectation was that the CEO will make or break the company. The CEO will make all the decisions. So it is very much like in a household where the expectation is the father will bring the food home and responsible for everything outside and won't share the troubles with the children. And today when we look at companies, things are changing so fast that unless information is alive all the time, there isn't any time for the top management to go through each layer and tell everybody. So there is a lot more open communication with the CEOs being on social media, etc., accessible to their employees. There's a lot of efforts. And right now we are in a space where the world is changing so fast that we cannot even keep track of what's going on. So where is the time for me to become an expert at anything? So the best way to manage is I need to surround myself with people smarter than me. Like I have here my friend Sangeeta Kathiwada back here. Welcome, Sangeeta, who's an amazing thinker and well-being professional and many, many things. So if I want to know anything about well-being, if I want to know anything about aesthetics or beauty, I call my friend Sangeeta because she's so much better than me. Or I call my friend Chamal Vallabhji, So I don't need to be an expert at it. I just need to know who the experts are and surround myself with them. So in this new economy, as we are evolving, in what way can we lead our companies so that the best possible results can come out of the company? So I'll give you an example of the situations we might be thrown at. Okay, my friend George Papandreou, he was in India recently, last November at our conference. He's ex-Prime Minister of Greece. And he became a prime minister. I was very young at a time when Greece was near bankruptcy. It's a country that's near bankruptcy. Now, no one has ever had that experience. It's not like you can call 10 other, heads of state who have been through bankruptcy and come out of it. It's not like a company filing for Chapter 11. It's a country. It's an economy. And so he had to negotiate with other people his neighbors and everybody, people in the same continent, then people in the banking system. So you have to talk to a lot of people to see what kind of loans can we get, what sort of stuff can we have, so we can stay afloat as a country and not declare bankruptcy. So when he was here, if you go to inktalks.com, you can see his interview, or on YouTube, just type George Papandreou Ink Talks, and then his interview will come up. He's such a calm, composed man, And when we were talking, he said, look, I had no idea how to do this. All I knew is I had to surround myself with people smarter than me. So I had the best finance person, best education person, best people, and asked them to teach me. And I had to be a very, very fast student. So I had to understand what financial instruments are available for me, what is the conversations I need to have with other countries, what is the conversations I need to have with other systems, etc. But at the same time, I was out of my depth. So first of all, to accept that I don't know everything. And secondly, to have the maturity to say, can I have people smarter than me be around me? And then actually utilize them and becoming a fast learner to understand that knowledge and translate it into action. It's quite amazing how he has done it. I mean, today Greece is one of the countries where the COVID effect is not that great yet, and they are actually able to function. They're there, they're thriving, and they are an economy. So, but at that time, it didn't feel like that. So the point is, as a leader, you really need to be adapting different types of leadership forms. If the country is at war and decisions have to be taken, there may not be time for a consensus building. But in general, to be successful, it is important to have a more participatory type of leadership, not a tops-down kind of leadership, the way it was in the industrial era. So what does the creative economy look like? So let me tell you about three, shifting plates. So first of all, if you're standing on earth and the earth is firm, your actions are one. But then if the earth is shifting around you, you have to keep shifting the positions. So imagine three different scenarios and you have to jump from one to the other. The first is we have an economy that is unpredictable today. We just don't know when we can open our business, when we need to shut it down, when we need to go online, when will we ever all get together in person. There is a lot of uncertainty in the economy itself. So it's not like economy is stable, either up or down. If it's stable, you know what to do, but it's continuously shifting. So number one, we have an economy that is shifting. Number two, we have different verticals, different businesses in themselves that are changing. So many businesses that are successful today may not even exist tomorrow because people's behavior has changed. So if you were in the video renting business and today everything is streaming, you're out of business, right? So it's sort of the nature of business itself is changing. And third, which is the most important thing, is that the nature of the workforce itself is changing. Today we have a millennial workforce who doesn't want to stay with the same company for 20 years, who doesn't even want to stay working for 20 years. Somebody might say, okay, I'll work for 2 years, then I'll take a year off, travel, and then come back, or I'll work for 6 months on, 6 months off. I don't even want to work for the same company. I want to work in a tech company first, and then I want to work in a pastry shop next, and then I want to work in an NGO third, and then I want to get different experiences. So you have a millennial workforce which is extremely different than the workforce that came prior to this in the Industrial Revolution, where everywhere in the world people were coming out of depression, people were coming out of hard times, and they have seen a world of shortage. Everything was in shortage. So they needed security, they needed safety. And today, the millennials live in a world of abundance, So it's okay, if not this job, some other job will come by. If not this company, some other company will come by. So, and also, I don't need that much. I don't need to own a house, I don't need to own a car, I have 3-4 pairs of clothes, that's good enough. It's a very, very different way of thinking. So if an economy, like the external atmosphere economy is shifting, the very nature of business is shifting, and we have the workforce that is shifting. Now, if you're on stable grounds, to deal with shifting scenario in front of you is tough enough. Now you have the earth beneath you shifting, and also the options in front of you are shifting. So now you have to work double time to just stay still, So I wanted to talk about what are some of the features of this participatory management, a new leadership style that we need to develop, a participatory leadership style. Now, you all know that I love coming up with acronyms or some way to remember things, etc. So today I took a little bit of a controversial, acronym, because my goal is to make sure you remember this. So the acronym today is LSD. Now, when I say LSD, you may jump to conclusions about drugs, etc. For me, LSD is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, thanks to Beatles, But anything, be it a knife or a drug, it has its purpose. It's when it is used in the wrong way, it's bad for you. So the same LSD as a drug may be bad for you. Maybe the same LSD as an acronym may be something we positively remember. So let me talk about what LSD stands for. First is L is for leadership. It's about a leadership where you need to lead and serve alternately. So when a company is doing various things, so maybe there's a one project where I will lead, doing the same thing. My job, for example, is curating talks. That's my job. So in one thing, when I'm running the conference, I am leading and I'm deciding whose talks will be there, how they'll be curated, what they'll say, etc. Say, for example. Now, it's the same thing if there's another project where we are serving a very, very large client and there's somebody who's handling that account and they come to me and say, hey, Lakshmi, I need a 1-hour session on XYZ, can you curate that talk? Now, I am serving that person because they are the boss as far as that project is concerned. I am not making the decisions. I am asked to do one little piece of it and I will go do it. My job hasn't changed. I'm still curating. But in one thing, I'm leading. In another thing, I'm serving. In the first thing, I have to think of what is the overall story arc, what do we need to do, etc. Whereas in the second thing, I just have to do what I'm told to the best of my ability. So it's about leading and serving. Doesn't matter whether you're the CEO or chairman of the board or you're a starting person. You have to both lead and serve. You have to do both. Because as a leader, if you don't have projects where you're serving, that means you're not training your next generation, that everybody is looking only to you for answers. So you need to create situations where others have to make the decision and you say, I will do what you ask me to do, but you make the decision. So you need to put the leadership responsibility on the other person's shoulder. It's not just say, I will serve you, but then I will tell you what to do. It can't be like that. So it's very, very important to lead and serve. Learn to do both. That's how delegation happens. That's how, we can truly lead. Now, I talked about LSD. What does S mean? S means there is shifting of decision makers. It's kind of a, fallout of the first thing that I talked about. What this means is that today I am making the decision, and tomorrow someone else will be making the decision. So you have to say, for this project, the buck stops with you. But for this project, the buck stops with this person. So, and also it's a thing where you come together as a team and make a decision together. It's a shared decision making also. While the decision making persons may shift, the decision itself is a shared decision, which means that different stakeholders come together. They look at the pros and cons and all that stuff. And then you have to take everybody's inputs to say, how do we make a decision that makes sense? While there is shifting decision makers, for this particular decision, there has to be only one decision maker. And that person's job is to get inputs from everyone, but at the same time, make one decision that you walk out of. Because otherwise, you could just go in circles and you could get stuck in a decision that won't be made because there are differing opinions. But to be a great decision, that shared decision making is extremely important from different decision makers. So let me give you an example. So, for example, if we want to host an event, okay, so there could be different ideas. So somebody might say, let's do it in Goa, and somebody says, let's do it in Hyderabad, and third person said, let's do it in London. Now, each of them, one could be a salesperson who says that, hey, 80% of our customers are in the South. So if we do the conference, we should do it in Hyderabad. And you could have a finance person who says, hey, the deals we are getting in Goa are way better than anywhere else. I mean, we save almost 60% if we go to Goa, And third, it could be someone who says, look, we have done with the Indian market. This is fantastic. Now we need to grow internationally. And to grow internationally, it's important for us to do something outside India. Now, there is a finance person, there is a salesperson, and there is a business development person. All three of them have their opinions. And each of those things, they are the decision maker. They know exactly what their customers are like. They know exactly what they're doing extremely well. So it's important to get all the inputs together. Then the decision maker has to decide which is a priority for us. If you have a huge cost constraint, then no questions asked, we need to go with wherever the cheapest thing is. If right now number one priority for the company is to expand internationally, then let's go there. But if it is about satisfying the current customers and budget is of no constraint, then let's go to where most of our customers are. So you really, really have to think about different options and make a decision. Now, there is a very, very key for this shared decision making. How shared decision making is successful is that you have to commit. So either you agree and commit or disagree and commit. So for example, if the decision was that we are going to do this in Goa, say for example, now the salesperson cannot say, now I can't bring my customers because I told you to do it in Hyderabad, you didn't do it in Hyderabad, so now don't ask me to bring customers. Now the international person can't say, now international expansion is off. I'm not going to bring any customers from international, so because you didn't listen to what I said. You can't do that. Whatever the decision that's made, now the salesperson has to do their level best to make sure their customers show up. Maybe they need to get some budget and say, I'll fly all the customers and you take care of your own hotel or whatever. They have to come up with some innovative schemes. Same thing for the international person. I really need to get these 3 companies that are international that are very, very important to me. But if I just invite, they won't come. How about we take care of their flights and we interview the 3 CEOs? Then it's an incentive for them to come. And so like that, you have to think about how can I make this happen? Once the commitment has been made, even though it doesn't suit me 100%, how will I go all out and support that decision? That's about that shared decision making among very, very shifting decision makers. Okay, so it's not like everybody has the same interest and they can make a decision very easily. So that shared decision making is very important. So we talked about the ability to lead and serve. We talked about shared decision making. And what does the D stand for? Now, this is also extremely important for us to think and understand, is that when a decision needs to be made, okay, the decision is the supreme commander, not the decision maker. Okay, if today, take the previous example that I gave. If today we have to decide about how do we increase our sales, okay, and suppose it's even bigger to say, how do we increase our sales internationally? That is the decision, okay. Now you need to put the decision-making power in the hands of the person who's responsible for expanding it internationally, and say, how do we need to do it? Because at that time, it's not the CEO, it's not the CFO, it's not that person. The person who has to make the decision is the person who has the highest stake in it and highest information, and somebody who has the most experience in it. So it doesn't matter what your title is, you have to succumb to that person. For example, many years, this is 25 years ago I'm talking about, we used to work with all the large entertainment companies to tell them that you need to start a new media division. I'm talking 93, 94, when internet was just starting. So if you went to a large media company, like say whether it's Universal or Disney or Viacom, it doesn't matter. I was in US, so I'm talking about only US companies. Any of them, if you go to, there would be a department for movies, there would be one for video, there would be one for TV, there would be one for even DVDs, etc. But there was never a digital arm, because nobody thought of content being digital, and nobody thought of internet being really big, whether selling stuff on the internet or whether it is doing programming on the internet or streaming on the internet. They weren't even thinking about it. So we worked with each of the companies to set up within that company an interactive division. Because we told them, just as you have a movie division and a VHS division and all that stuff, you must have an interactive division where the person can take the movie and say, can I create a game out of it? Can I create an investment out of it? Can I create a product out of it? So they should be able to take the properties that an entertainment company owns and create multiple properties on digital from it. And what sort of rights do you need to have digitally? What kind of legalities do you need to go through? So a digital person is supposed to think of everything. Now, suppose if the media company said that our goal is to focus everything we have on digital, and we want to double our digital sales so that over time our dependency on the mainstream comes down and our revenues from digital will go up. Suppose that is the decision one needs to make. Then the person who's in charge of the digital, they are the primary person. Now they need to say that, hey, for us to be successful in this, we really need to take these two characters from this movie and create a game out of it. And these are the 5 best game developers. I'm putting them together. It's a X, money we need to spend, and this is how we need to market it, etc. So if the decision is about what is the future of digital, then you need to have the person running that division also own that responsibility and educate everybody else on what is needed here. Because people are not going to say, yeah, here are two characters, go. You have to convince the legal department. You have to convince the owners of the movie, the co-producers, everybody saying that, hey, this will be a great idea and this is how much money it can make and this is how we can split it among us, etc. But that decision, when you're sitting in the boardroom and you're making that decision of how am I going to double my digital revenue, the person driving the decision is the head of the digital, because they know exactly what needs to happen. So either the CEO can have a very logical insight into it that the person may have missed. It's very, very possible. Or the CEO needs to let that person make the decision and make them successful by going with what they are suggesting. So a CEO's job at that time becomes like somebody who's willing to listen to everything, let them do their work, and only if it is going helter-skelter, only if it is not happening, you step in and you try to do something about it. So the goal is to not just look at who's the leader and who's making the decision, but to really look at what is the decision at hand and who is the best person to make that decision. So to summarize, we are talking about one of the biggest leadership qualities we need is a participative leadership. And to make this happen, we need to be able to lead and serve at the same time. That's the L. And then we need to have a shared decision making. Okay, that is for the S. And finally, D, the decision is the ultimate, important thing, not the decision maker. So depending on what is the decision that needs to be made, bring the right people to make it happen. So that is this edition of the leadership series on participatory leadership. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.